All right. I'd like to call the meeting to order, even though I am told that, by the way, do we have her online at all?
No, it's Georgia and Randy. Not there.
She's not there.
Nope.
So there's only three of us. We do not have a quorum. Any vote we take would be,
You can't vote. You can only discuss.
any discussion we have, we would have to all nod our heads if we're in agreement or disagreement and whatever. We're not allowed to be verbally.
What can
According to
happen
some-
is you will discuss at this meeting, and you will bring the items back to your next meeting, assuming you have a quorum, and then you can vote.
All right. Hopefully, if we can go through a few things on the agenda, make it quicker at the next meeting.
Correct.
All right, I call the meeting to order. It's only 2:02, and let's pledge allegiance to the
Yep.
flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any public comments that maybe we can get out of the way if anybody has any comments? All right, what
Oh,
else?
I just got a note from Georgia. Peggy is trying to join. It says that her internet isn't sufficient to join the meeting today, so she apologized that she won't be able to join remotely.
Can she join just by telephone?
No, it's 9 o'clock at night there. Said to pass her. It doesn't matter. She's still. You got to have 4 people in person.
Okay. All right, any public comments? Anybody want to make any comments?
There are none.
We can't approve minutes. We may have a very short meeting. Financial report? Anything on the financials that we want to go through?
Keep in mind, this is for August. They're old.
I do have a question for Laura. Are we any further along on having a process for maintaining a record of what we've approved in the past?
This right here,
Huh?
the transfers,
Okay, good.
I anticipated.
You anticipated.
I
Good,
did.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Back down a little bit.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome. So keep in mind, these are August, so they're.
Except I don't see one in here. Matarita 2. We approved that, and I think it was for 17,000, whatever it was. And I don't see it in here. And I don't see any work being done either, so I don't know what the status is.
I don't have the. Oh, yeah, I'll have to check.
Jen Lewis, KW. I have contacted Rock Solid, I would say at least 15 or 20 times trying to get this work moving. Left a message again for Tim, the sales guy, 2 days ago, and actually was on the phone with the office manager before the meeting. We're not sure where we are with it. They're looking for a deposit, although they never sent us the invoice. We issued a PO and we don't pay on a deposit, so we're kind of in a little bit of a stalemate right now with Rock Solid. So Daniel's going to take over here. If I can't get answers in the next couple of days, Daniel said he'll play hardball with them.
Those of you I haven't met, my name's Daniel Potter. I'm the new Public Works Director.
So is there a problem with giving them some sort of a deposit to get them moving?
We don't do deposits. Government agencies don't do deposits for jobs. We do purchase orders, which is our promise to pay.
So this is an example of turning over all of the responsibility of payment to the district. A year ago, when we had an O&M agreement, we could have deposits made. They were made on the light at Cypress, they're made on the generator at the gatehouse. Those things were in place.
I can tell you,
This is
we
probably
do,
the first of many times when this situation is going to come up.
we do jobs much larger than this without deposits. So it's not that this is a unique situation. Generally, contractors understand, they balk a little up front. We just explain the process. They have the purchase order, which binds us to pay them, and it's fine. So I don't think that that's what's causing your problem. I'm assuming there's probably still some kind of a supply issue, and then with the person that Jen was working with not being available, and there was just a whole like turnover, and thought it got handled, but it didn't get handled, and she's been following up, and nobody seems to know what anybody else is doing there. So
Well, I just hate to see it fall through the cracks. I mean, it's been
it won't.
approved. and
It's still on my radar because the PO is open.
Can
so
you put it on the list, please?
It wouldn't be on the list because it's a purchase. You have open on your list.
Well, except that that's money we've approved already, which would be coming out of our unassigned reserves. So why wouldn't we keep a list
It'll
of
be
it?
on the September one.
All right.
So that just would roll over into, the capital reserve is not, is that just money that rolls over?
That just stays there, yes. If you don't
So
spend it,
everything
it
that
just stays
doesn't
there.
get sent in the end of the year just becomes capital reserve.
No, not necessarily. If it's capital project and it wasn't spent, then it would go to capital reserves. If it was an emergency, it would go to your emergency. Ponds has their owns and everything else goes into unassigned. So unless it's specifically earmarked for a specific purpose, it goes into unassigned, which means you can spend it on whatever you want. And I believe we set up one for landscape for this year, so whatever funds were not used for fiscal '23, which ended at the end of September for the landscape, theirs will go into a landscape reserve fund. But again, these are fiscal '23 financials, so you won't get that until October 1. But I won't have the rollover numbers until probably middle to end of November. So we're still entering invoices for fiscal '23, and Sony doesn't normally close their out until sometime in early November.
You have a comment?
You're dropped in. Doug's answer. You're drop dead date, so there was for no. Some of that work's still being done for, is there a date that will be? Was it spent rollover? Is last sort of drop dead date?
I don't have a specific date. Everything that was for fiscal '23, that we can put it there until, as long as fiscal '23 is open. So when Sonia closes the year, then that's the drop dead date. But I can't tell you what that'll be for sure. It's
still
normally
open right
sometime in
now.
November.
It's still open
Yes,
right now.
yes. I'm still posting things to '23.
Okay.
We're working on our cleanup right now.
Any other comments?
Question for Lloyd. Once October starts, will there be a category?
Yes,
Is this meeting being recorded?
yes.
All right, so people should come up to the mic. All right,
The question was whether or not there would be a section in the top added for safety and security, and yes, there will, because they don't have a budget for the fiscal year for this, but for fiscal '24, they will. So there will be a line added at the top for them.
any other comments? Move on. Item B, Hurricane Ian insurance coverage.
As you can see, we submitted almost $389,000 worth of invoices to our insurance carrier to get reimbursed on. Things that were approved that were actually covered expenses totaled $115,000 here. After deductibles were applied, we ended up receiving $77,000 from our insurance for Ian claims. It got split up right down here. Pelican Preserve only got 3,500 of it. Stony Brook got 7,000. Of this 14,000, that was for signs. Half of it was for Gateway and half is for Stony Brook. So there was 7,000 that went in there, and then so basically 66,000 of it came to Gateway. The majority of the expenses that we received from Pelican Preserve were for debris cleanup, of which none of that was covered. And that's why your amount is so small. After all the deductibles, there wasn't much left that they actually paid for. Can you come up?
You gotta come up to the mic.
Oh, I'll repeat for you. She's Gimpy.
Oh, all right.
Nancy Straw from Pelican Preserve, I had missed the amount you said that Pelican Preserve got. I saw the total.
It's $3,548.55 of the covered expenses, that the ones that they actually said were eligible to be reimbursed. It was $10,316.55. And then after our deductible, we got $3,500.
Okay, all right, that's all I needed. Thanks.
Did the money go to Pelican or people?
It would have gone into, it would have gone to the line for the streetlight repairs, back to where we. Pelican got the money, yes. Anything that was in yellow went to Pelican. The green and half of the orange went to Gateway, and then the other half of the orange went to Stony Brook.
Just trying to differentiate between the association.
No, this is all 002 Gateway assets, not Pelican Preserve assets. We did not get involved in anything that was not our assets.
Any questions? All right, let's move on. Items for discussion. Item A.
This is the contract that you guys have standard every year with Passarella. They're just asking it to come forward, approved again, since we are in a new fiscal year. So it gives the GIS support that they do across the committees. I'm trying to think, I think it's like 2015 or something like that. Yep, so it's $50,000. So this is just, it's a formality to bring it forward because the total of the contract is over my spending, my approval authority.
So this would have to be approved at the next meeting.
Correct. You do have this in your budget, so it's all in the budget. It's 50,000 and you guys budgeted 50,000, so.
Any comments on that? If not, we'll move on to B. Bridge inspection proposal.
And our bridger isn't even here. Like the one time we discussed the bridges at the meeting and Martin's not here.
Bob.
Bob Gepper from Pelican. I noticed on this that we're evaluating 7 bridges, 4 of which are in the conservation area around Conservation 6 by the town center. Those bridges were just replaced within the last 2-3 years. And at that time, a study was done and said we didn't need to do anything with the pilings. And then the rest of the bridge is all brand new. So I'm not quite sure how much of this X number of dollars is to look at those bridges, but I would suggest we don't need that. The other 3 bridges, absolutely.
I don't know if they broke.
Now, can we make a decision here at the meeting?
Nope. You can discuss it and you have to decide, you have to vote on it at the next meeting.
All right, so
Any
let's
decisions
can
have
we
to be
put
made.
that on the agenda for the
Your
next
whole
meeting?
thing will be going to the next meeting, so
I'm sorry?
this whole thing will be going to your next meeting. Everything on here will get pushed to November so that you can vote on, so you can vote on it.
Outside vendor?
Yes, that they specialize in bridge inspections. We had them. They're, this is what they do, so that's why we went to them.
Will the minutes of the meeting include discussions?
We don't do detail. It'll be their summary minutes.
All right, the summary minutes can state that there's only 4, is that correct, Bob?
3.
3.
Well, I'll come to the next meeting. We're just talking,
Okay.
really, that's all.
Yeah, it's just discussion.
And the other glaring omission in this, and I don't know if an omission is the right word, but the bridge from the community center to Vincenza is not included because that is not a district asset. That belongs to the community association. But I know Bridger would be aware of that or was interested in that. So for clarification, and I met with the attorney yesterday out at the Brokey Center, and he's got the documents that says that bridge is a community association asset. So just for information, We don't have that big bridge.
So it's not a glaring omission because it's not our property, but if anybody wonders why that's not on there.
Well, that's what I
because It's
meant.
not our property.
You said it better.
Yeah.
Bridget had asked before
And
if it was
and
ours.
Is there any reason why we would even consider a bridge like that? It's not supposed to have anything other than golf cart traffic. So it's not vehicle traffic, it's not waste management, people coming
take this
across.
one?
You're
on the
absolutely
big,
correct.
You know, as on the big freeways. or
My
the biggest
understanding is not
freeways.
even supposed to have golf, per what it was permitted with, wasn't even,
Pedestrian.
it's pedestrian only.
No.
It shouldn't even have golf carts on it, so.
Daniel, you're absolutely correct, except that every one of us that bought a home in Pelican was put in a golf cart by the sales team,
Yeah.
drove across the
And driven
bridge.
across to the sales center.
Past
to the-
practice versus what's technically.
So
right.
I guess that my point is, can we try to delineate which ones are actually high traffic and or heavy vehicle usage?
Yes, we can go through and deliver.
Because I see no reason to even consider anything that isn't.
Pedestrian.
Yeah. And none of the
Yes.
golf cart bridges are in here either. Randy, they don't, because they're not our assets. The various ones, we got 3 or 4 of them around the community. But they're not a part of this study too, because it's not a district asset.
Move the mic.
Cece Haas from Casella. Just, does this include the bridge that goes into Casella?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Item C.
I know that they'll be okay with this. We have superiors who you've used historically over in Pelican for this. So we're just gonna approve the final year. I think this is the final year of the contract. Is that it? No, 2 one-year extensions. So that'd be for fiscal '24, which just started, in fiscal '25. Superior is really easy to work with if we just explain that we weren't able to take a formal vote. I'm assuming that you guys are not opposed to it because they're currently doing the service inside of Pelican, and Doug is recommending that we continue to use them. So they'll be okay holding until you guys can take a formal vote.
Does the agenda item down there, other attachments, show you're actually saving money by the new contract? I think we
And they agreed to keep the price unchanged for the next 2 fiscal years, which is good. So they've been fantastic to work with. I mean, I don't have any concerns from a staff perspective recommending the extension, but let's take a formal vote next time.
Any other comments? Move on.
Uh,
Downspot Initiative.
This one here,
I can talk about that.
okay.
This is year 8 of the 8-year contract.
Right.
This is the last year, and these are the lakes that need to be completed. It's the same design, the same contracts we've been doing for the last 7 years. We just need to extend to year 8 and finish the project. It's a finished Prado and Pistoia. The only option is you end the project in without completing it. So the Ponds Group recommended to PPAC that we should continue year 8 and complete the project.
It's the same vendor, and you did put this in your budget for this year.
The budget
So
is in
the
there.
funds are already there.
Questions?
Item E.
This is for Tetra Tech to do the design and bidding for the pond point repairs in Pelican Preserve. It's a not to exceed $20,000.
All right, so this will definitely require a vote the next meeting.
So will the other items, but yes.
Oh, no, a lot of the other items are just discussion.
No, you still need to vote to approve the spending of the money, especially when it's a contract. So this is the same. This is actually within my spending authority, but
Okay.
So this one you'll have to, if you want to have discussion now, or if you want to wait until the next meeting to have more discussion, this would just be for them in a not to exceed amount of $20,000 to complete the designs and assist us with getting bids for the pond point repairs.
And you said the money's there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the money's there for it. It shows here, if you look on the screen there, it's $20,000 and there's 105 in the budget for it. So the money's already there. These are all items that you've already allocated funds to for your next year. It's just authorizing the contracts to spend the money.
Okay, thank you.
So at the next meeting, these should just be very
You
quickly.
can just bring it up, say, as discussed last time, we approve this, we'll take a vote, you guys vote, and we just move forward. So this is
Okay.
where you can do all your discussing now and get that all out of the way, and we can just fly through them next time. Unless there's additional discussion, I mean, you have to allow that, but it should go pretty quick. So you're getting all the hard stuff out of the way today. You got the easy stuff next time, just gotta vote.
Item F,
Check my email.
fund transfer.
Yes, what this is when we put the access road in there on the backside of Pelican Preserve. Okay, when we did this, we had discussions with PPAC about funding half of the cost of that road. And you guys agreed to pay for half using your fire impact fee credits that we have, or that you have. The project is done. We've paid for the entire thing at this point. Chelsea is working through the contract with the broker to sell the fire impact fee credits. So what this request is for us to get reimbursed from your unassigned reserves funds. And then once those fire impact fee credits are sold, the money can go back in there. So we just have to wait to sell them. So we're asking to be reimbursed for our share, which would be, the total cost of the project was this $470,347.46, which means your share is $235,173.73. So that's what this is for. I just clarified that with Steven.
All right, so we only have to pay for half of it.
You're paying for this. We paid the whole thing. Right now, we've paid $470,000. But when we did the project, you guys agreed to pay half. So we're
Correct.
asking for our half. We're asking for the half. And it would come out of your unassigned reserves, and we're working on selling your fire impact fee credits to replenish that dollar amount. And when they're your fire impact fee credits, so when they're sold, you get the money. It goes back to Pelican. So it will go back to you.
Any questions regarding that? Comments? Move on. Our new member selection. Oh, Cece.
For those of us, Cece Haas from Casella, there are those of us who don't know what fire impact fees are. Could you just elaborate?
Sure, they're credits. I think I'm gonna get this right. You may have to correct me if I'm wrong. When developers build, they have to pay in to help offset the cost of the fire department stuff, right? So they have to buy, they contribute, and you get a credit as a fire impact fee. And what'll happen is we're sitting on all these credits, and right now we have about 18 months to sell them before they expire. And developers will look to buy credits from other communities because they can get the credits cheaper from buying them like from us than if they would actually have to pay the full credit out to the fire department. So you normally hire a broker to help sell the credits that you have to another developer. So that's what these are. These are dollars that Pelican has paid through the developer. They're your dollars. They're sitting in the fees. You can't spend them the way they are now. You have to sell them. And once you sell them, they just become cash. And you can do whatever you want with the cash once you sell them.
Bob Geppert again, just to go back to when we did this. These fire impact fees, as Laura said, they have value, but they're not negotiable. They're not dollar for dollar. Very limited way you can spend them. So we had to go before whatever the authority was to demonstrate, because this was only earned in Old Pelican, not New Pelican. And we had to demonstrate the money we were spending on benefited Old Pelican. It may also benefit New Pelican, but it primarily benefited Old Pelican. And the logic we applied at that time at both the board and to P-PAC was, if we needed an emergency way out, this would provide it for us. And it came out, it's basically, it's free to us,
Right,
because
you've already paid
we
it.
couldn't have used the money in a lot of other things. We might have been able to sell it, but this way it was nice and clean, and it made the whole construction road a very easy thing for the community to do. Because if you recall, we couldn't get anything out of Lennar, even though they were required to restore it. They wouldn't give us any money towards this construction road. So this is the way we overcome the cost. If that stirs up any memories.
We haven't sold any of the fire impact we haven't sold any fire impact credits since 2019, I think was the last time that we sold any here. 25. As I said, we have about 18 months.
And
Yeah.
they would expire.
Yeah, they do expire. That's why I said we've got about 18 months to sell them. We have requested an extension. Chelsea and I had a meeting on Friday last week with the city. No, the city. I had a meeting with the city and the county to ask for a 3-year extension because there was a big chunk of your fire impact credits that we didn't get until they were already 10 years old. So we lost 10 years. They were from 2004. We didn't get them until 2014. And they start from the date they were issued, not from the date that we received them. You get 20 years to sell them. So we basically have, some of them expired towards the end of 24 and some expire in 25. And then we said, based on the fact that there was COVID, so basically everything froze for like a good year and a half, 2 years, and the city put a moratorium on building, there was no way to use those credits. So we basically lost about 3 years that we could have been offloading those credits to trying to sell them. And they're going to investigate it with their legal. They were in favor, but they don't have the final decision, and they're supposed to let us know. But either way, we've got about, like I said, about 18 months to offload these before they expire. And there's, I think it's about $800,000 in credits, but if we can sell them, it's a little over $1 million we're thinking we can get for them that you have sitting out there. So we're going to try to get rid of as much as we can, and you guys get.
So back to the emergency road. Basically, you're saying you want your half now, and then we're going to sell some of those credits in order to get our money back.
Yep.
All right. Simple.
I guess we can move on. Any questions regarding the credits? All right, new member selection. We have a candidate here. Do you want to get up and introduce yourself? And no, I mean, we have a bunch of words here that we're going to try to just approve you, but we're not allowed to say that.
They tried.
Ed Hedges from Missouri. I don't know, I just been coming to a lot of these meetings and interested in what's going on, and I've been helping out ponds and safety and security with the GIS stuff and some of the inventory. 40 years of experience with electric utility, electric and gas utility to start with, electric utility. I have wealth of knowledge with anything electric utility. So it's been interesting trying to find out where all the street lights and Pelican fed from. But anyway, happy to be on the board. I don't know if there'll be other applicants or not, but
Right now, it's just you. Right now, it's just you.
That's right. We're ready to vote.
We got one opening and one applicant, so.
Well, I'm not allowed to use that word, right?
Might have a quorum next meeting, but not remember.
But I'm new.
Well, that's what we were trying to do, but she kept coming up with ways we can't do that.
There's only 3 of you regardless, so.
Laura always confuses the issue with facts.
It's Tony's fault.
But I'm fairly new to the community. We moved in about a year and a half ago, just in time for, so got to experience that here. So, any questions?
Doug?
I have a comment. Doug Zandberg. Ed has been part of our group. I just want a couple of things to say, even though it's not the whole board. Just the number one, he led the aeration reduction for electricity project, and the difference in our aeration.
Speak into the mic so we can get the minutes of it.
The difference between the contracts that were just being renegotiated, most of that savings was on parts in the contract that you've already seen earlier. Most of the savings was in parts, and it was because of the power reduction in the aeration, because we don't have as many compressors, so the parts significantly reduced. He had that. And I don't know if you remember when we had the discussion with the O&M agreement, where this guy stood up at that meeting and said there was a relationship management part of that contract, and he opened a lot of people's eyes. That took a lot of courage for someone new. No, it courage to get up and give your opinion when you don't know what other people think. And I think that shows his ability to make decisions. And those are the things I'd like to say. I mean, I wholly recommend them.
I'm just going to say one word too to the rest of the committee here, that what I like about it is that Ed comes to all of our meetings every month. He seems very, very interested in what's going on here. He attends all the PPCA board meetings. He's really involved with the community, and I think he would make a great member of this committee, but if nobody runs against him, I guess.
You don't need a recommendation.
You still got to vote, but yeah, he's unopposed as of right now.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my say for it.
Well, I think the three of us at least would look forward to you joining us. We would love to have you join us today if there's a way for us to do that. All right, we will move on. Item H, Cypress Grove. Roundabout.
This is the, I think, final decision to be made relative to the project to add safety features to this. These are the construction cost estimates that were provided or solicited from the district. And so what we'll be asked to vote on, we have a quorum, is accepting the contract for McShay Contracting for the $17,404, and for Pelican Signs for $26,160. And then, if and when that is approved, then the project can be scheduled.
What was the amount again? 26,000?
It's right here, 26,000 for lichens.
Yeah, that's
And then
Oh,
you
I
had
see
the
it,
McShay on
26,
top
plus
of it,
17.
plus the
Plus
17 for McShay. So 43.5 altogether.
Started this somewhere around a year ago.
Yeah, it's been about
little
a
bit
year.
longer.
Yeah.
Any comments? Further discussion? Let's move on. Subcommittee updates.
We got Tetra Tech task authorization for Aviano and Ante. You skipped
Oh,
over
I'm
it.
sorry. Item L.
So this one is just similar to the other one, to allow Tetra Tech, or approve the task authorization for Tetra Tech with a not to exceed amount of $38,000 for design, bidding assistance, construction administration, and inspection for the road resurfacing for Aviano and Diamante. Again, it's over my threshold, so it needs to come, guys.
Any comments or discussion on item L? I mean, H-I-J.
Aye.
Aye.
It's an aye.
I'll use glasses next time.
Just a question, John. This is Bob again. Is the task that we're asking Tetra Tech to undertake comparable to Avila? In other words, are we planning on resurfacing those entire roads? Or are we going to look at the opportunity of doing smaller repairs? And it's kind of been unclear to me.
I thought it was resurfacing.
I brought along just a copy of the printout of a table they put together with the road name, the pavement condition, and an index, and how they classed it. And these two they're two of three that were considered poor. So without an engineer from Tetra Tech or, I don't know, my assumption was with this, they were suggesting these are the ones that need to be approached. And they go from poor to fair, and they're significantly more than
Yeah,
they're
well,
in fair condition.
And the reason why I kind of asked the question, I think that's
So one thing that we have to do is we have to kind of look at how much can we afford in any given year. The original, with Avia, we started out with professionals from a number of different road construction companies that talked to us about bids. They suggested the cost would be about $80,000. Then we found out that that engineering was going to be $40-some thousand from Tetra Tech. And at the end of the project, it ended up being about $200,000. And I don't remember how all that
kind of evolved.
change order came about with curbs or whatever it might be. So we have to be, I think, very cognizant of what we have available and some kind of a logical progression over years with this.
Yeah, the thought
And not
process.
just let a squeaky wheel make a lot of noise and affect the progression on how we do this.
Well, the thought process that I was trying to instigate was, in the past, the only way we attempted a road was to do what we did at Avila. I'm talking about my 14 members, or 14 years sitting there. And we always had the approach that the roads are supposed to last 20 to 30 years. Okay, now since we've gone through Avila, we know what that cost, and it's significant, as Randy said. If we took the Tetra Tech report at face value and copied Avila as a methodology, we will far exceed, in the next 4 years, our capital reserves to the cost of just roads without any other capital item into consideration. So maybe, and here's what I guess I'm kind of suggesting, maybe we need to look at this and take the next two areas, Diamante or whatever they are, and see if it makes a lot more sense for the community to just repair the spots that really need it and leave the rest alone. I don't know that we totally need to tear up the entire roads. They're not that old. I mean, they're 20 years. They really get very light traffic other than, garbage trucks and moving vans. So it would be a new kind of way to think about repairing the roads. The other consideration that I want to throw out and get at least the dialogue started was if a community surfaces their road with the sealer, paint it, cosmetic, whatever you want to call it, those roads hold up a much longer and much better than a road like Avila where they didn't do anything. So the communities that are painting the roads today, Bella Vista, Bellagio, Monticello, to name a few, their roads are in much, much better shape. So the thing that needs to be considered is we've always heard the same thing from engineers. We've all heard the same thing. It's only painting it. It doesn't provide value. I can't speak from an engineering point of view, but I know from history and sight and observation that it does help the road. So maybe a consideration for the future is PPAC just bite the bullet and we put out a schedule and we seal the roads every 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever the time frame is. So the whole community looks, uniform, including Pelican Reserve Boulevard and Cypress Grove, seal those too, and then come up with a new formula on how we do it. Now that would relieve a little bit of tax burden from the communities that are currently funding their own roads, but it's not much. But that way the entire community is benefiting from this. So I'm just suggesting we take a second look at it. I don't want to just sit here and blindly spend the money because Tetra Tech recommended it. Repairs do need to be made.
Is it possible that another approach, we just have each of the communities, and I don't know how to change a vote like that, but have the communities take care of the roads? I mean, like you said, Portofino, Bellagio, those roads are.
I would love that personally, John. I don't think you've got a snowball's chance in hell of getting communities to vote for it. That's just my own personal opinion. There's some
What would be
communities that would, but
required for
majority
the communities to vote for that? I mean, our community at Portofino, we have no issue with,
but it takes an 80% approval in the community. That's a tough threshold. It's a tough threshold, and it's not their asset, as I just, the asset is a CDD. I know what we did in the past, and it had worked, but I'm saying now it's time that we're 20 years old. We need to take a whole different approach to it. At least that's what I'm trying to get, is some thought into this. I don't have the answers. I just have the questions. But I would like us to do two things. If we determine that the value of the ceiling is good, then we ought to be funding it. If we determine that we don't want to totally mill and grind every road in 4 years, let's consider alternatives. And I don't know what those alternatives are, but I know we can do spot repairs a heck of a lot easier.
I
cheaper.
agree.
So that's the thought process I'm trying to get started.
Ed Hedges, Azura, at the last safety and security, or it was,
Pull up the mics. Yes, there you go.
yeah, there you go. At the last, I think it was safety and security meeting I was at, I think that was the one, but I actually looked at the list and Azura is number 3 on the list. And I live on Azura, and to me, the road is in pretty good shape, and so.
It's in alphabetical order. But it's fair, so you're getting close. It's
No,
not
but
four.
it was the third one that they recommended to do, and it would be done in the second tranche of the projects. You know, and kind of following up on what Bob was saying, it seems like you're embarking on something that there needs to be a lot of thought and consideration, and maybe it might be prudent to have like a workshop with Tetra Tech and the Public Works Gateway or whoever needs to be involved to kind of look at what the strategy is long-term. We start doing some maintenance, or do we go into this wholesale resurfacing schedule, or just how do we approach that? Because it seems premature, maybe those are only, you know, Zura's probably only what, 12 years old. So, you know, if they're saying it's in poor shape, I don't understand why it's in such poor shape that we would actually have to start resurfacing, total surfacing.
Do we know as a fact that Tetra Tech inspected the road?
It was a,
They did.
Yes.
it was a
And do we have
visual
that inspection report?
Yes.
Yeah.
Remember, it's 40 pages long.
Yes.
Yeah.
They just kind of handed it off and showed up on here. Nobody could tell us anything about it at
Yeah.
that meeting.
That's why I think a workshop to kind of discuss the whole thing and the status.
That's
and
an
the
excellent
approach and
idea,
all
because
that.
when
It would be prudent
when we
before
were originally
start.
talking about this, we had a number of people from contractors, road contractors, that came and gave us their professional opinions on different, kind of specific to Avia at that time. But
Randy, I heard you yesterday at the President's Council meeting say that there was a list on 1, 2, 3, 4 on down the list. Where does Pelican Preserve Boulevard come into there?
I think this
Because
is-
that, you know, that, I mean,
It is-
that gets
it-
so much traffic and there's so many bumps and stuff on that one. I would think that that would be at the top of the list.
Well, it's considered satisfactory on this list. And the
Compared,
rating is 0.8. 1.0 is good.
What I don't know, based on that report, well, what I do know is that they looked at the whole road, not just point repair. So that skews the report automatically right there, is the fact that they're looking at a whole road overall. What I don't know is what their criticality scores were based off of, what they were weighing roads, and what classifications and criteria were they weighting these roads to give us this list. That's kind of why I was hoping they would be on the team channel today, but that would probably change how this priority list is set out too. And I think in the future, we definitely probably need to look at a point repair approach versus an
Absolutely.
entire, it would reduce your costs overall, just like you're all saying.
I know, in Portofino, we have 3 roundabouts. We have to repair the roundabouts all the time, because that's where the garbage truck goes around and around. But the main street, not an issue.
Now, one other thing is, starting next week, we're going to have some of the restriping, refreshing done by D&G and on Prado, Cypress, and Pelican Preserve. And those will probably be 3 to 4 year timeframes to have those done again. So that would have to be taken into consideration on some of those roads, not the neighborhood roads.
Just Jen with KW, just a clarification, Randy, not Prado. Dean only asked for Pelican all the way down to Palazzo, and Cypress Grove only up to the Carina Circle.
That begins on the 16th, correct?
That's right.
Any other comments? All right, subcommittee updates. Ponds.
Well, two of the things in my report. Doug Zanner, I'm the chairman or whatever of the Ponds Group, the subcommittee. Two of the things on the report are we already covered, which was the 2 contracts we were going to vote on. Only got one other thing. It's about 8 pages, the report. It's in the document. Go down, well, I'll come back and do erosion later. Listen, what's one right before it? One right before that. You can't read that from that. Okay. We'll do erosion, since it's there. This is we had, Jim Latham did a report of the ponds that you've seen at prior meetings and checked the erosion and the condition of the ponds from the banks. We paid Tetra Tech with a task authorization, and this is the completion of that task authorization to validate the data that Jim Latham did. And this is their results of the 17 ponds that ranked in order that they came back and said. And this is the pond number. The next is the actually circumference of the pond in linear feet. And then if you look at the bottom, what's that? 0 inch drop off, 0 to 6, 6 to 18, and so on. The state, Regional Southwest Water Management, has requirements that says you cannot have a 9-inch drop, okay, in the bank. You can have can't drop off for 9 inches. Has to be 4-to-1 slope, and it needs 25% littorals on the bank. Those are the requirements of our ponds. If you look at it, the residential repair that Tetra Tech decided to do was the entire pond, even though over half the pond are within the requirements of the Regional Southwest Water Management. Okay, so that's what this report shows. If you go to the next one, go to the next page. Oh, make it smaller, I believe. So what I did is created this report, and the Tetra Tech repairs the number of feet. Then it's the estimate. To do coconut mesh, that has been our standard. If we did the whole pond, it's about $40 a foot. That's what it's done in the past. We have expertise in this for the last 8 years. And it's right now, the current rate is about $40. If you go over to the far right, the cost, the difference between that repair, the entire pond versus the estimated cost on the far right is the difference between doing the whole pond and just repairing the parts of the pond that need it, that do not fit the specification. So our recommendation was to do point repair, as opposed, you go down here, see the options there? Down there at the bottom of that report. Option 1 is if we did the entire pond with coconut mesh and reclaim the soil or the silt from the pond to rebuild the bank. Option 2 is you truck in dirt, and that's another $1 million to do that. Option 3 is the option where you do armor maps, which is the material. That's what Gateway does. Option 3 is what Gateway does, but they don't have littorals. And option 4, doing all 17 ponds would be about $674,000 by doing point repair. Okay, versus $7 million if we did it with Armor Max. We've done Armor Max, okay, and we've done coconut mesh. Go to the next one.
Armor Max is $200 a foot.
Yeah. So this is an Armor, and that, besides my picture of my in the way there, shadow there. That one pond there is the one behind Sevilla that was done with Armor Max. This pond here was done with coconut mesh. Even though there's a gap there, there is no erosion. So that is our coconut mesh repair on the pond. What's the pond? Oh, it's up there, 20. The coconut mesh repair 8 years later has held. What point repair?
So your recommendation would be.
Oh, my
coconut-
recommendation is not to spend $7 million. It's to spend $674,000 and fix all the, and be within specs of regional Southwest water management. That's our recommendation. Go back to the one backwards. We know that that's the design from 8 years ago that they did. Now Tetra Tech's going to come back with a design. It'll be very close to this, but there was no engineer that did that design. That was our contractors. Okay. But when I look at, there was no engineer, but 8 years later, it's working. It's working. So that is the next step right now is Tetra Tech's doing that study that was already asked for approval that you couldn't vote on earlier in the meeting. That is to come up with the design and the exact feet that with the point repair. So what he's looking at doing, Tetra Tech and Steve, is looking at only doing point repair where it's 8 inches or greater drop. So we're 1 inch greater than or less than the criteria. And that's what he's measuring how many feet it will be. I did the estimate from what he gave us in his report, and it wasn't feet. It was just a little parts on a graph, but you could go in Adobe Pro and you can measure that of how many feet knowing the entire pond. So where we're at right now is waiting for Tetra Tech to come back and do 3 bids, not a formal bid process, but make sure we have 3 bids on it. And that's our direction going forward. I don't need a vote today anyway on this, but I just wanted you to know the direction we're going as a group. We never tried to, to do 7 million or 6 million, you're going to have to go for a bond and stuff like that. To do 600 and some thousand, we're going to be able to do that over a few years and do all 17. Okay?
Significant not reaching capital reserve and letting the top bond budget 3 years.
Very good.
Okay.
So you're getting paid now with the ponds budget too?
Oh, yeah.
One more percentage of the.
One more thing, just so you know, we're cleaning the storm drains. Oh, is it in the pond report? This one I'm looking for that chart. I don't think it's in there. Yeah, right there. We had all of the storm drains inspected, and this is a report that came out of that. 100% full, 80%, 50%. So they end up with sludge in them. Okay. And when it gets to the top, it backs up into the pipe. So if you can clean it out and go over to the left a little. Yeah. If you, where that little arrow is, that's the percentage of the sludge buildup. When it gets to the top of that, it goes down the pipe. And then you have to not just suck out the sludge in there, you also have to clean the pipe. Okay, we only have one of these storm drains in the entire place that's above 100%. So we've done a good job because we've every year we've done a quarter of them and rolled them through. But this is where by area and by percentage. I'm looking at doing just 80 and 100%. And concentrate on getting the ones that are close to the top, because I don't want to ever have to go into the pipes because that's expensive to clean them out. Okay? That's a direction too, not a vote, but a direction.
So Doug, So I'm a little more clear on this. So the erosion project, that's Southwest Florida Management Regulation, a state regulation, that's.
You cannot, they could come in if you had greater than a 9-inch drop, okay? Or,
That's part of my
yes,
follow-up thing here.
it's a
So-
requirement.
So it's a requirement, and then you have Tetra Tech comes out and does a study on it and says, yeah, this is where you're at with the thing.
Right.
And then, are they the one that do the work, or do
No.
they hire contractors to come in?
We'll go out to three different contractors. We will get 3 bids. And I believe, because we've just done some spot erosion, that was $40 a foot. I believe that for that 90-some thousand I had in that chart, we could do pond 36 with spot repairs against just the ones that did not meet the state requirement.
Okay, so then, after that work is done, is there some sort of a guarantee or something in case Southwest Florida Management walks in and does an inspection? Is there some sort of a, or
have
we
never-
just,
We have never had a guarantee. I'm not saying you can't, but if you have a hurricane and it destroys your bank, I don't know anyone, it's like having your tile roof on your house in a hurricane, you have to replace the
Yeah,
roof, the insurance company.
but let's just say that the contractor, whoever is selected,
Mhm.
who makes sure that he's done exactly what needs to be done to get within specs? Does Tetra Tech go back out again, or what?
In the past, Tetra Tech has not went back out. We've inspected, the Ponds Group has inspected the bank, and the results of 8 years tell you
Yeah.
the status of that technology and that vendor. Now, I only have relationship, and we've only in 8 years only used one vendor to do spot repair. So if one of these other vendors bid, because we're going to have 3, we have no experience with them.
Okay, so the Ponds Group is kind of making sure that it's done to get us within specs then. Is that correct?
Tetra Tech will give us a report that shows how many feet are out of spec.
Yeah,
Okay? That report and the drawing of that pond will go to bid to 3 different vendors.
but after their work is what I'm.
There is an inspection at the end of that.
There is, okay.
But I don't know if we're paying the task authorization to do that. We've not done that in the past.
Or is that Daniel that goes out and does all that?
In the past, that's what he does.
Yeah.
The Ponds Group goes out
Yeah.
before it's paid and says, we're happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, we don't take a ruler out there, or
But you can look at
Bring
it.
the mic in.
You'll know it when you look at it.
we don't take a ruler out there and measure them. I mean, we could use Daniel, or we could do another task authorization right now at the end. But
So
that's not part of what we have right now.
Okay,
at what time of the year do you do this? Because
Dry.
the,
Gotta do it right.
You can only do it in dry.
like in March?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Within Lee County, Pelican Reserve, anecdotally, is considered the gold standard of taking care of ponds. And other suppliers and vendors call us all the time and come out and look at what we've done. I don't believe we'd ever have an issue with being surprised by South Florida. We are very, very proactive. And other communities are always calling us to see what we do and how we do it.
Okay,
And
thank you.
These 40-foot repairs, $40 a foot repair, as compared to what our brothers in Gateway routinely spend $200 plus. And they currently have 18 million in bonds? Is that right, Laura?
Not yet, no.
But we got to be apples and apples. Gateway's problem is they do not want littorals. Okay, and without littorals,
Waste your money.
without littorals, the spot repair with coconut mesh does not work. Because what that does is it keeps the bank solid with the coconut mesh on top and the sludge come up, or silt come up underneath that. And the littorals take over. When the littorals take over, then the coconut mesh decays and the littorals protect the bank. So like in that one picture on the right, pond 20, the littorals is what's keeping the bank from eroding, not the coconut mesh, because 8 years ago it was put in. Coconut mesh does not exist. The thing at Gateway, a lot of the ponds, they won't put in littorals. And it's not the district doing that, it's the homeowners. Correct, Laura? I'm pretty sure you aren't the one saying we don't want littorals.
Well, we want littoral.
I know you do, because you don't want to have to do the type of repairs you have to
Right.
do. And if you were able to do the other way, it's significantly less money.
Okay, thanks, Doug.
Any other comments on ponds? So we did A and B, let's go to C. Any discussion on the Weiser post order document?
That, that was approved by Safety and Security. And I didn't know that it was going to be brought to PPAC for.
For FYI,
Okay.
the contract
all
is
right, yeah,
between the
this is,
district and.
For your
Yeah,
information.
the contract is between the district and White River, but
So that could be-
Is it
Your
ready
dollars.
Is it ready to put on the Pelican Reserve
Yep, it was my
website?
job to bring it to PPAC and then to do it advisor, so I needed to bring.
Does it require a vote? Then do it.
Well,
Well,
if I make a comment on this, and Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, but the post orders as written, ones that you just talked about, do not reflect anything other than the guardhouse.
anything other than,
They reflect the current Weiser contract,
Which means that
which
the,
includes some roving and, some things that have historically been done.
okay, then I must be wrong, because I heard from Danny Clemens that all that was removed, that the only thing in there is the guardhouse. If it's only the guardhouse, that's not reflecting where we currently are.
Well, I know there are a lot of suggestions and a lot of things made, but you can't just decide to change a contract. So
Who's changing the
anything that,
contract?
well, I mean, it was wordsmithing. It wasn't meant to change anything that would, from the existing contract until such time as that contract's up.
Okay,
The post orders align with the current contract.
including Rover, Town Center,
If that's in the
and
current
RV.
contract, then yes.
That's not what I heard it there, but I'll leave it at that. I'll take it back to Safety and Security.
if you have a question, can you bring it up to the mic?
Jen Lewis, KW, can we just make sure Adam and I are not listed with our cell phones?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Because that will get posted to 2,500
Yes.
homeowners.
Randy, regarding the post orders, and the rover, can the rover be used for anything else that comes up? For instance, I'll give you a good example. At the, one of the PPCA meetings, somebody brought up the fact that the lights were being left on at the tennis courts and being left on at the pickleball courts and so on and so forth, well into the night. Now, is that something that the rover could be used in order to go through there and turn them off or not?
No.
They can't, not until the contract
No.
is due.
You know what, giving an idea what a rover had been put into the orders. If they're driving around a neighborhood and it's dark and they see a garage door that's open,
Mm-hmm,
they might call that homeowner
right.
to remind them whether or not they wanted that.
Keep the gators out of the garage. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And or otherwise, it's just, they respond and report. So if they get a call, if the CC's neighborhood is acting up at the pool and they get a phone call, then they're supposed to go down and investigate and report.
I guess I have what a waste of money. And I'm hoping as soon as that new contract comes up that we can get something done there to change things, but I guess we gotta wait. What a waste of money.
Has a lot of ideas about that.
Yep, we'll be putting it out to bid in the spring.
Good, thank you.
Do we get to review that
Oh, absolutely, we'll have
package?
input on the bid spec, absolutely.
on the bid package
Yeah.
then?
On the specs,
And you
yes.
can include some of those comments in the bid package
Yeah.
if we want for the
In
new.
the specs, yep.
Yeah, thank you.
So earlier in the week, Jen, myself, and Danny all sat down, reviewed the contract as it stood, denoted a lot of the deficiencies or wording that was not left in there. It was left very unclear. And we're taking notes on how to improve the future contract. And that's something that we'll bring in front of you as we move forward. And we'll highlight those sections that we think need improvement.
Yeah, the rovers specifically, I used to have security that reported to me, and the rovers, there's a lot of things they could do in order to help the community out. Not just the PPCA, I'm talking about the community. There's a lot of things they could do, so I'd sure like to at least be part of that when it comes.
I think part of it's visibility. If you recall in the past, with Securitas, they very frequently sat down or parked and watched people hit golf balls off the ground. You had to see them. Right? Literally, they would park there.
It'll start with
what?
safety and security, since it falls under them, and we develop the initial scope, but it'll definitely come in front of you guys. So I encourage you, if you want to have input right at the front, to come to their meeting, have it on their agendas to get part of the discussions.
Okay.
Any other comments? Any member items?
I have a couple, if that's okay.
Absolutely. You can even request them to be on the agenda next time, because we'll go
Yeah.
through the same thing.
No, I really appreciate meeting Daniel, but I wouldn't mind knowing what your background is.
So a little bit about myself. I'm a veteran United States Army, like
Good.
18 years
Thank
strong
you.
now, as an engineer for them throughout my capacity there. I've held titles as Public Works Director in the past with the Corps of Engineers. I'm coming by way of Pinellas County Utilities. I was the Director of Engineering for them for about 3 years prior to taking this role.
So you have an engineering degree?
I do not actually have a project management master's. But, yeah. Tons of project management experience brought to the table. So looking at my past capital improvement plan was about $800 million worth of management versus here a little bit smaller scale, smaller projects. So working through that, still doing the Army side of the house as a reserve officer, and happy to be part of the team. I'm right at about a month, so I'm starting to get some wear and tear on the ground, getting caught up where everybody's at and all the statuses of all the projects, and everything that's going on across Gateway.
Well, thanks for your service, and we're glad to have you here, and we'll be looking forward to working with you, hopefully.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Second thing is, I guess, what is the status on the speed bumps? Anything there, Randy?
Then it will be on, I just added that item to their agenda for their next meeting for safety and security.
But it's something we can discuss now.
I prefer that it go to safety and security first and let them discuss it and bring their recommendation to you.
That's fine.
We have
Okay.
a lot of recent activity, and so we'll have something, I think, very positive to
Good.
discuss.
Yep,
Thanks,
I just
Randy.
approved it today to go on the agenda.
All right.
And then it will be on PPAC's agenda in November.
After that, yep, safety and security will bring a recommendation to PPAC.
Good. Thank you.
Any other comments? Anybody in the audience? Questions?
Past that, sorry.
What if we wanted to reopen it?
Yep, can't, not voting on anything, that's when you call back for comments.
So we won't be able to vote on adjournment?
No.
We're stuck here till
You can
next
do
week.
it. I'll just decide you're done. I'll just decide you're done. So I'm assuming that you guys. I'm assuming that you don't have any additional items that you'd like to add to your next agenda. We'll just carry everything forward to be voted on next time. All right, are we done?
Yeah, except only those items that need approval.
I think we can vote on an adjournment.
Which is pretty much the minutes, and then 5 and 7 basically need to get moved forward.
Okay.
But number H for sure.
Well, 7, that all needs to get, you guys all need to just officially, yeah. So I'll just have her pull forward 5 and 7, because you have to approve the minutes. All right, we're done? You're good?
I move we
I'm good.
I move we adjourn.
All right. We're adjourning 311.